Brandan, what's up, brother?
Matt, what's going on, man?
Yo, man. First off, I like that hat. It's a good-looking hat.
I have to rep. I wear hats all the time, and I feel like this is the right time. Finally.
I appreciate that very much. Welcome back to Collector's Cash episode number 5, believe it or not. So you were on for the very first debut episode. Now 4 episodes later. Wanted to have you back on because we got some great feedback on the, anime auction review that we did. And I think it kind of opened some eyes to, not only some original art in the space, but the space in general. And I kind of wanted to put an episode together, maybe a little bit of like a anime for beginners or anime for noobs, some type of anime episode that, it's just like reading comics, that when you read a comic, sometimes you read the comic and you love it so much, whether it's, the cover and interior page, the story, that makes you want to buy it, or it makes you want to seek them out and seek out the original art. And I think, there's so much amazing anime out there that's happened throughout the years. Kind of wanted to have you back on. I know we're both big anime guys, very passionate about it, and just kind of talk about some of the animes that maybe shaped history, and then animes that we love in our own right, that, we own some original art from, or some cells from, some Sedais, some Dogas, some Gangas, whatever it may be. And it's a pleasure to have you back, man. I really enjoy having you on the show.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. And for everyone that's watching, you're in for a good show. It's going to be a lot of content, a lot of different IPs. So looking forward.
Yeah, and the thing was on this is I didn't want to make it like a in-depth review, because sometimes when you do those, let's face it, you and I could be talking about one single anime for 2 hours.
An episode.
Easy, no problem. What I wanted to do was kind of talk about a bunch of animes and give people some different things to go off on their own time if it strike their fancy to go and watch, or, things that I stumbled upon throughout, my watching or collecting. And I was like, wow, this is great. What's this from? Or I watched something and I was like, you know what, this really, I really enjoyed this. I want to see what type of, original art's out there for something like this. So before we start, disclaimer, I'm wearing a Naruto shirt because a lot of people know that I love Naruto and it's a big passion of mine, but I did not put Naruto on this list to cover today because I wanted to also include some animes that you could watch in a little bit of a sitting, or you could get a vibe for and kind of, go close to finish or start to finish. And, let's face it, with Naruto, you got to put together about, a month's worth of time to really watch it all. Yeah, exactly. And, there's a lot of filler, let's call it an anime term, that it's, essentially episodes are just filling up space until the next big battle or the next big arc. And, so I still love Naruto. It's one of my top animes of all time, but I did not, include it on this list. And I know, you and I have had some picks that when we were working on putting this episode together that, I wanted and then you wanted, or vice versa. So we had, some similar ones. And then I think I have an anime and you have an anime that either of us have never seen before. Yeah, so it's really cool. We'll both learn some stuff on this, but, when you and I were talking about putting the episode together, and I was what was the first anime that came to your mind that you're like, I got to put on the list?
I mean, I'm known as a Dragon Ball guy, so by default, that is my world.
Yes. I mean, when I was doing, I was like, I even knew, I was like, well, I don't have to put Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z on the list because I know Brandon will handle that. And, that is a classic, especially in our age group, that, shaped our childhood. It was something. And then as we got older, I continued to watch it just like I know you did. And now you've got multiple movies, more things becoming canon that weren't at one point. Shout out. I'm so happy that Super Saiyan 4 is finally is moving over into canon, because that was one of my favorite, transformations. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really cool episode where we're going to cover a lot of different animes, a lot of different, like you said, titles. I think some of them are movies, some of them are series, everything in between. So some of them are a series of movies if you want to watch them in that way. But, I kind of wanted to start this off with a little bit of historic animes, in my opinion, that have helped, kind of shape what other animes came forward and the ones that, we know and love. So I'm going to, bring up one of the things I wanted to start with is, where's my presentation here? Why can't I share?
I do want to give a shout out. I got to show my shirt off.
Oh, shout out Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon. As a girl dad of 3 girls, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to the females in the world.
And I got to tell you, Sailor Moon almost made my list as a historic anime because it was an anime that I watched for the very first time when I was younger, and it was based off of and I still loved watching it. I still loved the powers, the magic, the whole nine. It was, very interesting. And
Sailor Moon would beat Goku, everyone.
Oh boy. Now he's really pushing it. But the one I wanted to start off with is Fist of the North Star. It came out in 1986. It was kind of the first, let's call it. It was created by Brandan and Tetsuo Hara. Guys, when you see where to watch on the screen here, WTW, where to watch. I wanted to also give you guys some outlets that these are on if you either subscribe to them or you want to watch them. Now, you have to keep in mind that Fist of the North Star came out in 1986. But if you can go back and watch it now, the crazy part is that you can still watch it. I love that when something comes out from that long ago where it stands the test of time. And Fist of the North Star, for me, it wasn't an anime I first watched when I got into it. I was watching things on Toonami and stuff like that. But when I started to look for other animes to watch, I ended up diving deep into Fist of the North Star. Shout out to my buddy Otis. We watched a couple of the movies together, and he had told me about it and, kind of told me the story. And one of the things that I really enjoy about Fist of the North Star is that, it's post-apocalyptic action, and it's completely over-the-top martial arts, which I love. And, you got to think back in 86, I think it's fair to say not only is it post-apocalyptic, but it's also a martial arts adventure type of anime. The main characters are here on the screen. Over here on the top left is Kenshiro, and these are actually all brothers. So these are 4 brothers. You have Kenshiro, you have Toki, you have Rao, and you have Jaggy. We're going to try to do our best here, guys, to have limited spoilers, but a lot of these things have been out for a long time. You can go and type in on YouTube best moments and see a lot of the cool things. But the basis of the story is that Kenshiro, his father trained all of them to be a master of the martial arts. Essentially, the martial arts has been around for 2,000 years at this point, and all the moves that they use are like super powerful, super impactful killing moves type of a deal. And one of them has to become the next fist, which has to ascend to the crown of the father to take over the fist. And you hear Fist of the North Star. If you see on Jaggy's chest and on Ken's chest, there's those dots. They actually make the Big Dipper. So that's where your correlation to the North Star is. And I would say that Kenshiro is probably one of the craziest Bruce Lee-like screaming, punching, kicking characters. But what it really did was it told a whole story along with amazing martial arts animated action that you just hadn't seen in 86. I kind of wanted to go through and have some famous quotes or some famous moments from each, show that we're going to discuss. My favorite fight from Fist of the North Star personally is Kenshiro versus the biggest brother, Rao. Rao rides a horse that if you watch the anime, shout out to Rao's horse. It's the coolest horse in the history of anime. It's basically its own character. It only listens to Rao. But it's only because Rao essentially was the only one that could conquer it. So they have a very unique relationship. And so do Rao and Ken. They have that big brother, little brother. The big brother's there to push the big brother to push the little brother to get all of his latent ability out. And then the top line, when Kenshiro says you're already dead, he really means it. And if you go and watch the anime or the movies, whatever you would like, it's incredible. I just think Fist of the North Star was ahead of its time, and it would have been a miss to not put it on the list. Now, have you seen Fist, Brandon?
So I haven't, and it's something
Gotta
that
put it on the list. It's a classic.
A buddy of mine is like, I can't believe you haven't seen it, but there's something to tie in. I'm pretty sure that Wu-Tang, right, RZA has a big connection with Fist of the North Star, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a lot of cultural ties, even dating back to Wu-Tang times from anime.
And then the other classic that you have to go to if you're talking about animes that shaped, the history of anime is Akira. I mean,
Akira, the art world completely.
What it really did, I think, Fist of the North Star opened the door a crack, and Akira just kicked it open and knocked it off the hinges. And it was a visual. It was something visually different than you had ever seen before. And especially you got to think back in '88, because if you watch it now, again, it stands the test of time. It's really if you did watch by chance Fist of the North Star and then Akira, you can see the drastic difference in the production art, the way it was produced, the hand painted art, the hand painted backgrounds, the environment that it created. I think Fist kind of laid the groundwork, and Akira just really, made something really, really special. Came out in '88 again. You can watch that Crunchyroll, Prime. You can watch Akira anywhere. It's
the attention to detail in the backgrounds, I think, is truly what makes the movie, the anime, what it is. There was so much detail in those backgrounds that even the backgrounds themselves will sell for tens of thousands of dollars.
I mean, just the painted backgrounds alone made you feel a different sensation when you were watching it. It made you feel like you were really immersed in an environment. And I mean, I think that was something really that Otomo, the creator, really wanted to focus on, was making it a visually great experience for the viewer to enjoy. And then when I say shaped history or shaped anime history, there's so many things through anime that have now really jumped over like anime culture and have become just pop culture. And Akira really, I think, helped bridge that gap. When you see the next slide here, I had to put, between the bike is one of the most iconic motorcycles in any history of anything, of any movie, of any, anime, live action, whatever. Everybody knows what the Akira bike looks like, Kanada's bike, but the jacket. I mean, before I had watched Akira, I had seen people walking around with this jacket with a pill on it that said good for health, bad for education. It was just, the jacket itself was incredible. And you get to see, the opening bike scene in Akira, the outfit. It's that, let's call it again, sci-fi, cyberpunk genre that you just weren't used to seeing. You never saw anything like that. And when you saw the outfits, the design, the way the cars looked, the bikes looked, the way that they made this universe come to life, Akira was just something very special.
No one will ever be as cool as Canada.
No.
There's just no way you could top that. There's just no way.
Like, he was, he's the leader of the biker gang. He's got an absolute dripped out outfit, all red.
And
Bikes
just drives like an animal.
Dude, just like literally slithering through traffic, full 150 miles an hour. And like the way that they did those scenes where it was
like Tron. I
was just about to say, actually, it was like the light cycle battle in Tron before you even watched anything in Tron. So, I think there was a lot of influence there for sure. And some of Akira's, like you said, painted backgrounds, but also, if you get a cell with a master background setup, they're some of the most expensive.
Forget about it.
In that space, you know what I mean? They're really incredible. I wanted to, kind of talk about two of the main characters, Kaneda and Tetsuo. So I have to say, I also just I love Tetsuo just as much as I love, Kaneda. He's awesome, but I think you'll see a theme here through me is I feel like you need a really good plot and a really good bad guy. The bad guy makes the good guy look so much cooler. And in this case, they're friends and, some crazy stuff happens. I don't want to, ruin too much of the story if you haven't seen Akira, but, some experiments were ran, some things happened, and Tetsuo just becomes a juggernaut. I mean, he becomes incredible, and it's kind of up to his buddy, Kaneda, to try to save him.
Yes. Definitely. And I don't want to spoil anything, but it is a quick watch. It doesn't take up a lot of your time.
That's
I think out of the list of what we have here, this is the one that you could sit down and watch quickly and say to yourself, okay, if I enjoyed this, then I'm more than likely really going to enjoy the rest of the list that Matt and Brandon had out here.
And that's why I wanted to put the list together, because if you just watch one or two of these and you enjoy them, then God bless, and then find your own path of what else you want to watch or whatever genre you want to be in. I mean, there's feel-good animes. I tend to like more fighting adventure ones. There is, love story animes. I didn't even get into really any of the Studio Ghibli stuff, any of that, because it's not really my wheelhouse. But,
Same, yeah.
look up Studio Ghibli and look at the list of films. You'll be blown away. You can watch them, with your family.
The Heron's really good. I mean, there's a lot of good ones. It's just
Princess Mononoke. Yeah. I mean, they're all My Neighbor Totoro, all classics. Yep. Now, I know there's a lot of amazing moments in Akira, but for me, and I would say, I specifically remember this. I can hear the music. Tetsuo takes on a tank. That's all you need to hear, and you can see my man putting on his bad guy aura here with the cape. It's an incredible scene. I mean, you can look it up on YouTube. It's maybe a minute and 45 seconds long, but I remember watching it and being like, okay, this is going somewhere. So it was kind of, for me, when I first watched Akira, like, okay, now I see why people love this. And then it just continued to get better from there. The way they did, again, the scoring and the music to go along with the beautiful scenery. Akira, for me, was the first, where everything came in and it all worked. The music was great. The animation was top notch. The art was phenomenal. The story was great. It was just everything all in one.
Well, they didn't try to recreate magic in a bottle, right? They left it as was, and they could have given us something else, but they didn't. And I think because of that, it's made its aura so much greater, in my opinion. Because nowadays, everyone wants to milk everything, do a part 2 and do a spinoff and do this and do that. Akira's Akira, and that is,
and it was a standalone that just knocked it out of the park, and then it was like, now everybody else can take it from there, type of a deal. So
it was a mic drop. It was a mic drop. Before mic drops were cool, they did the mic drop.
So I wanted to start off with two kind of OG style animes. I'll call them original gangsters, the OGs, because these were ones, like I said, that I think were very important to get anime to where it is today and the level of, consumption that people have. I think without Fist of the North Star and without Akira, a lot of the things that we know and love today, movies, shows, other anime, wouldn't be, what it is. But I then wanted to kind of transition into some stuff that were some personal picks for me and then some personal picks for you. So those are kind of historic, withstand the test of time anime that if you really want to go back and you want to start from the anime bug getting started, I would go back and watch those. Now I want to fast forward a little bit more towards the newer side of things, quote unquote. Before we do that, I wanted to go over a quick couple Instagrams to give a follow. Guys, all this, stuff that we're going to be going over today with these animes, the episodes, the key moments, whatever it may be, go and take a look at some of these Instagrams that are on the page here. You're going to see Instagram accounts that are going to be very heavily focused on the stuff we're talking about today with these handles. You're going to see dogas, gangas, set eyes, painted cells, storyboards. Some of these accounts even have story sales. So you're going to not only be able to go to their accounts and see their insane, anime, manga, doga, painted cell collections, but then you also might be able to see some amazing offerings that they're going to offer through there. And these are all people that either Brandan or I know. We follow them, have purchased from them, whatever it may be. I know the first guy really well because it's Brandan. But the other ones were all people that I've either found through doing my own research in the community, an olive branch from a friend, hey, you should go check out this person, or somebody that I've purchased from and had a, good deal with. But these Instagrams here are all great Instagram handles just to start getting your feet wet and see what other people's collections look like. Brandon, I know some of the people on these lists are your friends and people you've worked with as well. You helped me kind of combine this list, and there's some great content on those Instagram pages. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has something different to offer. Zeno Gala was someone that showed me the way coming up when I first got into animation art. He's a huge resource. He's always been someone, like you said, olive branch, that if you have a question, he'll let you know how to identify something that's real or maybe not, what maybe the price markets on something may be. He has his finger on the pulse, and he understands the market really well and has for a very long time. He's a seasoned collector. Joke, which is Julian, a good friend of mine. He is French over in France, Putain. He'll laugh at that if he hears that. He's also a seasoned collector, and he is also someone who appreciates all narrative art, not just animation art. He also is into comic book art and other arts. He has a really cool career that is kind of entangled in doing such, I believe, with like video games and things like that over in Europe. Hand-drawn Dave is
formerly Dragon Ball Dave.
Formerly Dragon Ball Dave. He does not want to be known just as Dragon Ball. He has a ton of different IPs, Yu-Gi-Oh, just all over the place. He's a really good resource. Animate, one of the biggest collectors. So like if the Romata Jr. For sale, like his website.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What's his name? I forgot. Is it Mark?
You're talking about Romita Jr. original art.
Yeah, that's was that Mark? What was that?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's available through a couple different spaces, but actually, his son is selling a lot of his art now.
Gotcha. Well, I'm talking about the website. The collector that has it in comic books. He has this huge collection that's for sale all the time. That I've done some deal. Well, anyways, he's like a Grail collector. Animate just has just an unbelievable.
Oh, do you mean Romita Man?
Yeah, Romita Man.
Yeah, Berkey, Mike Berkey. Yeah.
So, like,
sorry, I was confused. I thought you meant who was selling Romita's art. It's Romita Man. Yeah, Berkey.
He just has like insane pieces. So if you want to see some insane pieces from everything, Animate's really good. And then Wicked Cells. I mean, I think you could talk about him because he probably has most of the grills you would want.
Yeah, I put Wicked Cells on the list. Shout out to Wicked Cells because you'll see later in the show, but a lot of the IPs that I love, he tends to love as well, and he's got some of the just amazing cells, master background, key duo moments throughout a lot of the IPs that I love. So if you're interested in seeing some of this content, guys, go and check it out. You know what I mean? Go check out these people's Instagram, give them a follow, check out their content, leave them a comment. But the main thing is it's just like in the comic book world. There's a lot of different people out there that collect a lot of different things that have their own different focuses. And, just being able to see what everybody else is willing to post or what they're might be willing to have to sell or for sale, and then really just kind of immersing yourself into the space. That's one of the things that Brandan has helped me out drastically with. And I know that you said you've had some olive branches as well from like Zeno, but it's one of the things where just getting out there and start taking a look around, start scrolling, start giving a follow, start commenting on some things and really trying to understand the space. It's been a blast for me. I've really enjoyed it. I picked up some, great art that you've helped me with, but I've also made some great relationships as well. So I would always encourage, reach out, I always say a like or a comment goes a long way when you're a collector posting your stuff and somebody tells you it's awesome. It makes you feel really cool. So I just wanted to put some Instagrams up there, and then we're going to move over into my picks now. This is Yu Hakusho. It's from 1992, where you can watch it. It's on Crunchyroll. For those of you that don't know, you're going to see Crunchyroll on almost every single one of these because it's the spot to watch anime. It's essentially the Netflix for anime. You can find, Brandon, you had to say 95% of any anime that's ever been produced is on Crunchyroll.
Definitely.
And if it's not on it now, it's been on it at one point and is just cycled off, and it'll be back in 6 months. But for me, Yu Hakusho is in my top 3 anime of all time. It means a lot to me. I watched it. I still watch it all the time. I've probably watched it start to finish at least 10 times in its four seasons.
That's 10 more than me.
Yeah, I just really love it, and I can't believe you haven't watched it.
I know,
we talked
dude.
about it before in the studio. It's an absolute classic for me. If you haven't watched it, it's just it's like a joy, honestly. I just think it was written phenomenally. And once again, it's fighting, it's an action. The technical, I would say, genre is like supernatural martial arts adventure or something. But essentially, also, very important note is Togashi was the one who made this, that then took a long break and then went and made Hunter x Hunter.
Oh, I can see the similarities actually.
Yeah. So if anybody's watched Hunter x Hunter, which I was considering putting on the list, but I didn't want to have two Togashi created animes, but came out with Yu Yu Hakusho, blew everybody away, and then took a long break and then worked on Hunter x Hunter. So just an amazing show. Very quick synopsis. This is the main character, Yusuke Urameshi. He's kind of a kid with a smart-ass attitude, doesn't want to listen to anyone. His mom's a drunk, and he is on his own as a kid in high school, 9th, 10th grade. He ends up becoming what's called the spirit detective, and his job is to make sure that demons don't cross from the demon world into the human world. There's sometimes some lapses or some cracks that they can get through, and Yusuke's job as the spirit detective is to send them back to the demon realm. The way it's written, the subtle, funny jokes, the overall like atmosphere of it. It's one of those animes that gets really serious, but then has a really funny, lighthearted moment to bring, to follow it up. I can't tell you how many times when I was a kid, I walked around and tried to shoot a giant blast from my finger as the spirit gun, just like I'm sure at one point in your life, you tried to do a Kamehameha, as we all have done once or twice. But the spirit gun was, to me, one of the coolest things. It's Yusuke is able to channel his spirit energy, and he shoots it like a bullet right out of his finger. Specifically, if I was going to say, because it is 4 seasons long, the main portion that I would tell you, and it's widely regarded. Do some research if you'd so choose. Is one of the best arcs in anime history is the Dark Tournament arc from Yu Yu Hakusho. It is essentially Team Urameshi, which you see here on the far left is Kurama. He is a demon in a human body. In the short to the with the red and the sash, that is the masked fighter. As you can see, they have a mask on. Middle is Yusuke, team leader. To the right is Hiei, who's my personal favorite character, and he's a demon as well, fighting on the human side. You find out and understand why. And then on the far right is Kuwabara, who's Yusuke's best friend in high school and says, I'm going with you. They end up going into the demon realm to fight in a round robin NCAA style tournament, and the winners get whatever they want. They get whatever wish they want granted. They go in and they fight. Like I said earlier, if you're gonna fight and be the good guys, you also have to have good bad guys. Like, you haven't watched the show, Brandon, but looking at this looks like a team of bad guys.
I'm trying to figure out what that is in the background, to be honest. I don't want to go inappropriate.
I can tell you that that's the tunnel that they walk out of. So keep that in mind.
Okay.
Yeah. On the far left is Bui. Kind of see some Shredder reference there for sure.
Yeah,
the big guy is. Yeah, the armor's awesome. The art is phenomenal. Bui is just extremely strong, and he can conjure an axe out of thin air. That's his ability. Toguro, that's why they're called Team Toguro. It's actually 2 of them. Younger Toguro is the big one with the Terminator shades. The older Toguro, and he's just raw strength. That's all he has. He doesn't have any abilities other than I am just physically stronger than you. The younger Toguro is a shapeshifter. He can change. The guy in the suit, his name is Sakio. He's kind of the team manager, and he's a human, and he organized the demons together. He tends to lean more towards siding with demons than humans. He believes humans do some crazy things, war and nuclear bombs and all those things. So he has his own reasons for wanting to be with the demons. And the dude on the far right is insane. His name is Karasu, and we'll get to it later in some other shows. But essentially, he can go Super Saiyan.
Okay, he looks like an absolute stud. So,
his ability is he can conjure bombs out of thin air that you can't see. So he can make a bomb out of his hand that's invisible, and it's floating in his hand. and he just surrounds you with them, and he's like a masochist, so he can just start hitting you with all these bombs, and he's a crazy character. No spoilers here. The final fight is Team Urameshi versus Team Toguro, 1-on-1 to see who wins the tournament. And my personal favorite fight in the whole show is Hiei versus Bui. Hie's like 3'8" with the hair, and Bui's like 7'2", and the axe he swings is bigger than Hiei. And I think it's a 2-episode battle. It's absolutely incredible. And you could probably sit down and watch the Dark Tournament arc in a weekend, a Friday night, a Saturday night, a Sunday night, and it would be something that I would think you would really enjoy. This anime personally affected me so much, helped me through some tough times. Whenever I was, down, I would always throw this on, made me happier. So this show made me want to go out and get something original from it. When I found out about this space and I found out that there was, art out there to be purchased from something like this that brought me so much joy, I wanted to add something to my collection, so I was able to add a Hiei cell that I think I showed on our prior episode. But something I'm very proud of, and if you have a chance, I would definitely recommend checking out Yu Hakusho.
I think before we skip on, the creator of Yu Hakusho also is Hunter x Hunter, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like you have to mention the connection to Sailor Moon.
It's true.
So I'll let you take the floor on that one, man. That's important.
Oh, I mean, the thing is that, are you talking about that he helped make Sailor Moon?
No, his wife.
Well, right.
Yeah, I mean.
Well said. I mean, he was part of the team that helped make Sailor Moon, which his wife, I think basically it was a very small idea that she had. I haven't read the story in a long time, but it was something that he basically urged her to go out and do. She did it. She created Sailor Moon, and talk about a power couple that you have two creators that
How insane is that?
Sailor Moon, things that again have withstood the test of time.
3 incredible IPs.
Amazing. Yeah, really crazy. Now, I know I talked about this on our first episode, but there's just this one for me is you have to go and watch it. It's a movie. This is what I love about this one. It's an hour and 30 minutes long. You are not going to feel overwhelmed. You don't need to watch the original Vampire Hunter D. That's a huge thing I love about some anime is they're like standalone. You can just watch a movie and still understand. Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust came out in 2000. I'll never forget, I bought it at FYE on a blind grab that I didn't know what it was, but FYE at the time was the only place that sold anime that was around me at least, and it was on DVD, and it was like, it has slipcase. So I was like, oh, this has got to be cool. It's got a slipcase. Went home, watched it. I have probably watched Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust more times than I am willing to actually admit. You can watch it on YouTube. You can watch it on Prime Video. It was on Hulu a couple months ago. They took it down. This one really set apart for me because I love vampires. I love, adventure style things. The art caught me right away, even as a kid with the slipcase. I saw this and I was like, ooh, this looks really cool. It was the first thing that I had ever watched that I would consider in the horror genre of anime. And I was like, I love this. I'm in. It's got maybe 6 characters through the whole thing that are super prominent. You have D, who's the hunter. D is what's called the Dunpeel. He is half human, half vampire. You can see a lot of similarities from like a blade, let's call it. D can walk out in the sun, but he also gets sun poisoning, so he can't be out for too long. He can only be out in the sun a little bit. And I would say the big bad for this, Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust movie is named Meyer Link. Meyer and a human fall in love. The humans want Charlotte is her name. Sorry, it was escaping me. Charlotte and Meyer run off, and the humans want D to bring Charlotte back. and they know that she was taken by Meyer, and they want to get a vampire hunter to go hunt a vampire. I believe I showed it on the last one, but I just couldn't help myself. I chose this panel, but it's not the exact one that I have here on the image, but it's the image before, where Meyer, you see him for the first time and he turns around and, you get his first real look.
Matt, so there's the movie. Is there a show as well?
So there's Vampire Hunter D, which was first, and that was a movie. Mm-hmm. And then there was Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. There was never just a show that was, episode by episode. But it was something that I watched. I was like, wow, this is incredible. And it's done by Madhouse. It was produced by them. And obviously, them. They had in my opinion, some of the best animation work that you could imagine for its time period. They were doing they had some of the best animators there creating this. This is another group that you run into called the Marcus Clan. So the humans that hired D to go and bring Charlotte back, they also hired the Marcus Clan, and they are a gang of mercenaries. The guy in the bottom right here with the headband, his name is Vorgoth. Then you have Nolt, Lyle in the bottom picture, and then up top you have Layla, who's the main female character in the show, and Grove. And they're vampire hunters. They go out and they are bounty hunters that, either take down vampires for money or do missions. And it's kind of a race between the Marcus Clan and D to see who can get to Meyer and Charlotte first and bring her back. This is a very grainy picture, but it's the only one I could find, and it's super important to me. I remember this image because it's titled The Windmills of the Barbaroi. The Barbaroi is essentially a village that vampires, demons can go, and they are completely protected. It's like you can't get in, they keep everybody out. D can get in because he's one of them. He gets in and he sees the chariot, but when he's riding in on his horse, he sees the windmills of the Barbaroi, and it's just this like panning shot, and it kind of like goes back and you see more of the windmills. And I remember seeing it and being like, wow, I'd never seen anything like this before. It was like an eye-opening experience. He goes inside of the Barbaroi to try to get to Meyer and Charlotte, and you run into this crazy dude, the Barbaroi Elder. I actually use this, as you can see, Brandon, on top. This is a scan of an original cell.
Yeah, I see it.
So it has the writing up there of when it was used. I was able to find a cell that somebody had posted on the internet. And this guy's wild. He rides around on a unicycle, and he is the Barbaroi Elder, and he protects all demons, anybody that asks for refuge, vampires, whatever it is. And what happens inside of the Barbaroi village, not only do you get an amazing pan shot, you get to meet this crazy dude who talks wild, but the fight scene that ensues after, I didn't want to include anything from it, but it's a very, very cool scene. And I would highly, highly recommend Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust for anybody that's looking for a quick hour, 45-minute movie to watch a really fun anime. I can even give it the Robin stamp of approval. My wife loves Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. So it's just a really cool anime. And if you have a chance to watch it, I would definitely take the time. You got to watch it.
I do. And you know what? I'll watch it tonight.
All right. I like that. I'll do it that. Nobody wants to watch the NBA finals anymore. It's probably time to just, watch some anime.
Yep.
And I got to say, I'm guilty to move to the next one. I watch anime that I've watched a million times. I just throw it on. I just love watching anime. It's what's on at my house. This one is really cool because if you haven't watched Afro Samurai, you can watch it on Crunchyroll or Hulu. Now, there's a movie after this called Afro Samurai Resurrection F. You should watch Afro Samurai first. It's a mini-series. I think it's 7 episodes total. This was the first anime, and I tried to do like a first of each. This was the first anime that I watched, and the soundtrack. You never watch an anime, Brandon, and the soundtrack just blows you away. You're like, this just goes hard. Like it works with the show. You know who did the soundtrack for Afro Samurai?
Whom?
The RZA.
Well, there you go. See?
Dude, it is...
So I mentioned him earlier, and here we are now.
Incredible, dude. So the Wu-Tang ties are here. The RZA does all the music through the show. And the main... the voice for Afro, and the voice for right here, Ninja, is Samuel L. Jackson.
Yep.
So it's incredible. You get this journey of, I wanted to go back to this one real quick. I put this one up here because this gives you a real idea of like the beauty and the way it's animated.
So good, yeah.
It's incredible. I've never seen, if I did, I would buy it immediately. I'm sure as many others, or try to buy it. I've never seen any Afro Samurai art for sale, whether it's been Sedai, Edoga, Genga, Painted Cell. I've never seen anything. But the way it was animated, the style of it, the flow of it. I mean, he's walking around. You see he's got that hand-rolled cigarette in his hand right there. And kind of the background, very quick synopsis of Afro Samurai is it is in... man, I don't even know what type of genre you would call it. I guess it's, let me tell, I did have my notes here. Yeah, post-apocalyptic samurai is what it's under. But the headband he wears and the reason why it's all long like that is very important. In this world, essentially, there's only two things that matter, and they're two headbands. The number one headband means you are the number one strongest warrior in the world. If you wear the number one headband, you get whatever you want. Nobody checks you. The only person that can fight the number one has to have the number two headband. So if you have the number two headband, you're the only person in the world that can rightfully challenge the number one. But that means there's the whole world is gunning after the number two headband so they can then go fight the number one. And essentially, Afro gets the number two headband when he's like a teenager, and he works his way up to find number one. And there's a lot of challengers that come along the way. They don't stand a chance. It's amazing the way it's animated. I would say it's a little bit more gory, but the way it's animated is incredible. When I say gory, it's maybe more blood splatter. You know,
not Robin approved is what you mean.
Right, exactly. And then I wanted to go over here and talk about Ninja because Ninja is like the secondary protagonist of the show. He's always with Afro. Afro is a very soft-spoken guy. He's just wants to fight the number one, smoke a little cigarette, and enjoy until he has to get to the next fight. Ninja never stops talking, and he's essentially Afro's mouth for him. It's, you know, he'll talk crap during a fight for Afro, which is, you know, classic because we all have that friend. We all have that one friend, man.
Classic Samuel L. Jackson, too.
And he does both parts, so you know he was happy about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, but it was just, it was an anime that I watched. And again, the music hit like a freight train. It's post-apocalyptic samurai. I love samurai stuff. I have the number one headband tattooed on me. So like, I really love Afro. It's something that, you know, means a lot. And one of my favorite fights from the entire show is Afro versus Kuma. You can see this dude's got a crazy bear head with two katanas, and he wants Afro's number two headband, and they go at it for a full episode. And the fight is the way it's animated. You know the fight that Sasuke and Naruto have, the first one under the waterfall. Just the way it's animated, you were just watching it and you were like, this is incredible. It's just like wild. It was the same vibes I got when I watched Afro fight Kuma years later. Just a really, really great, powerful show. And if you have, I think they're 45-minute episodes, I highly recommend giving Afro a watch and bumping the speakers because you'll enjoy the soundtrack from Afro Samurai. Now let's move on to your picks.
I mean,
I've done 40 minutes of talking. I need you to step in here and tell me all the things I don't know about Dragon Ball Z.
Well, I would hope you know everything about Dragon Ball Z because Dragon Ball Z is the best anime ever produced.
I'm not going to fight you.
Dragon Ball Z, I think, is one of the more mainstream IPs. I think everyone that's watching or listening to this knows about Dragon Ball Z. Maybe some of the other ones that we've gone over so far, they maybe not know. But Dragon Ball Z has become its own entity, mainstream. You can watch it Hulu, Crunchyroll, YouTube. And if you do watch it on YouTube, make sure you watch the Bruce Faulkner ones with the epic soundtracks. Talk about soundtracks. Give me some Disturbed, okay? The English dubs were great because of that, but beyond that, I do recommend watching it in Japanese. Watching anime in subtitle format in the original voice actors has so much more expression that comes through the screen. It's not to take away from some of these great American or English voice actors. It's just different. And I think you agree with that, Matt. Like, just the expression and everything lines up a lot better. I do recommend watching it, and you're more involved when you're reading dialogue on the screen.
Oh, I'm glad you brought it up because I was saving it for the end. I know it sounds really crazy to like a lot of people. I will watch an anime dubbed, and then I also watch it subbed. And I started doing this in the beginning. My preferred way to watch anime is with the subtitles.
Yeah, you're not on your phone. It's not in the background. You're focusing.
Well, number one, the things you said are very true. But number one for me personally is it makes me pay attention.
Yeah,
it makes me pay attention. Number two, I couldn't agree more with that. What you get of the highs and lows of the pitch or the expression, you don't need to know the language. But when you hear a scream or you hear the power up, it's something different. And what I've also realized is when I first got into watching anime and I would watch a dub versus a sub, sometimes there's not exact translations to what was said in the sub to what the dub for.
Yep.
Sayings aren't the same, or there's not an exact translation. And sometimes really key stuff can maybe get a little lost in that. So I've really found that I enjoy, if I'm really diving into an anime and I really want to understand everything, I always watch it in subtitles.
So ironically, that also applies to the titles of episodes. So Japanese titles could be different from the English titles. Just throwing that out there.
No, and I didn't know that, but it's what you said. I was going to save till the end because there's some maybe like do's and don'ts of like watching. Like I would say personally, if you're just getting into Dragon Ball Z, I would personally say you can watch the abridged versions. Some people are like, no, you have to be a purist and you have to watch it just like we all did, and you got to watch every episode.
You sit down and watch.
Listen, does Dragon Ball Z have a lot of filler episodes? Sure, but I have to tell you, the filler episodes when I was a child, watching them made the moments so much more special.
The build-up I
think there's a fine line between us wanting things now of all instant gratification versus realizing that the buildup of something makes that, apex moment much sweeter. And I know we're going to get into it, but I remember, and, I think everybody does, is, when Goku fights Frieza, I mean, the fight is 18 episodes. It's incredible. But
I also want to make sure that's worth noting that there's Dragon Ball.
Yes.
There's Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball GT. And there's Dragon Ball Super, and now Dragon Ball Daima. Dragon Ball is about Goku as a child growing up into adolescence, and it is written really well. It's one of the first. It's the grandfather of anime. The character development was really, really good. The artwork was fantastic. The storylines were really good.
Dude, I have Dragon Ball DVD box set.
Oh yeah,
it's in blue slip cases. And do you remember they folded out because there was 4 or 8 discs or whatever? Dude, I remember buying them at Walmart or Best Buy or wherever I could buy them when they came out remastered, and watching. Shout out Simone DeMio. Simone DeMio's favorite anime. He loves Dragon Ball, not Dragon Ball Z. He's like, I don't need the power up or this. He was like, the story of Dragon Ball
was incredible.
Yeah. It was incredible. Yeah. And he loves it. He's like, he turned me on. I never, obviously too, created by, rest in peace, one of the greatest creators ever, Toriyama. He was, a visionary. I never watched or read Dr. Slump. Did you?
No, I was actually about to reference Dr. Slump because that was his first. Yeah,
that was his first. Yeah, and you can see a lot of influence that was taken from Dr. Slump to Dragon Ball.
She makes a couple appearances.
Yep, she does. Yep, she does. Then I really feel like Dragon Ball Z turned into an entire different genre. Even I think
the
Dragon Ball was more fun, and yes, there was martial arts and there was things, but it was really building up the base, the foundation. And then Dragon Ball Z just took off, and it was incredible.
And to also give some credit to how this went about, Akira, he wrote the manga. And it was Dragon Ball. There was no Z to him. But when they went to anime format, they produced some filler like Matt had referenced, and they broke it up in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. But if you read the manga, it's one continuous story.
Yep. So it was just our marketing strategy to break it up because it was one continuous running manga. Yep. But, you know, for us, we want a little bit of an open and a close and then a restart or whatever it was. But, and, you know, as I said, guys, we're going to try not to do, you know, any spoilers or anything. But if you haven't seen anything from Dragon Ball Z, that's on you. Yeah. That's on you, viewers.
It's been out long enough, damn it.
I kind of went, and you'll see here, I kind of went with some new school photos and then some old school photos for Dragon Ball Z because I think it was also one of those things where Dragon Ball Z for me has just a ton of nostalgia value. It's just, it was my Toonami at 9 p.m., Toonami Tom, you know, announcing the lineup. But these are the guys. These are the guys and the girls, I should say. These are the key characters of, you know, the early Dragon Ball Z, you know, Mr. Satan.
There's a lot of layers. If anyone's ever watched this, everyone
what a
knows.
character.
Yeah,
you know, Mr. Satan, Hercule, what a character. Obviously, you know, Vegeta, Goku, Piccolo, all amazing. But I gotta say, shout out Chaozu. I love me some Chaozu, dude. I was a Chaozu fan.
I mean, how can you give him a shout out but not give out Roshi? I mean, that's
wow.
You know,
I mean, he's the OG.
That's the Turtle Man.
And a perv.
He is a perv.
Every anime's got to have at least one pervy character. And I mean, like I said, I didn't put Naruto on there, but one of my favorite characters in anime history is Jiraiya. And he's just a pervy old strong guy.
I don't think anyone beats Roshi's perviness.
It's
I mean, he has a damn nosebleed, for God's sakes.
Dude, when he sees a beautiful woman, chat, the thing that just happens, essentially, he just has a giant sprouting nosebleed.
He cannot contain himself. He goes into just blood out of his nose.
I love it. So this is kind of like the key, you know, Dragon Ball Z crew. Once again, I'm not spoiling anything here, but I think... Again, at least I did. I tried to turn Super Saiyan at least 5 or 6 times in my life, just screaming at the top of my lungs, hoping for the best. You know, never happened, obviously.
It's
but
still a reference. You know, if you're in a game or you're an athletic event, someone screams, someone always says, "Oh, he's going Super Saiyan," right? Like it is ingrained in our culture now, and I believe that this is the first time that anyone was able to power up and evolve, right, in anime. And that was kind of
that changed the whole form.
That changed the whole form. And I just remember watching Goku with his emotion in that episode 95, and just sitting there and thinking to myself, holy shit, this is insanity what's happening right now. And I get goosebumps talking about, because it was just such a moment that was, I remember where I was at. I was before football practice and watching this and thinking,
oh my God, you had to run through a wall at football practice.
I was like, you know, we would go to practice and we'd all talk about, did you watch Dragon Ball Z episode? I'm like, yeah, like, you know, and go do some suicides and throw up. But it was awesome. And then to see when Gohan, his son, eclipsed him to Super Saiyan 2, everyone's minds were just blown. And then we get to see someone with long hair with no eyebrows.
You were just saying about the goosebumps, dude. I literally remember Goku powering down and being like, "Fight's over.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna fight you anymore.
Yeah, let my son go.
Gohan, it's your turn." Yep. And you pan over, and he's like, you know, he's like hit by a bus. He's so perplexed. And I mean, I didn't choose that image. You know, I don't want to go too far into it, but again, the father-son Kamehameha is up there in the top 10 anime moments in history for me personally. Like you said, you remembered where you were. I remember watching it and standing up off the couch when it was happening live on TV.
That was like 2 episodes. Maybe
it was 2 episodes long. It was incredible.
It was insane. There was and that was like, those 2 episodes felt like an eternity too. You felt like you were there in that moment. It was just like, holy shit, this is happening. What is going to happen? And
I remember too, the main thing where I was like, you know how like in a lot of animes, or, you know, you'll have a moment where you like see what's gonna make that character snap or whatever it was. And I remember with Goku versus Frieza had a lot to do with Krillin, you know, the way he was treated and then what was going to happen to the planet, obviously. And, but I remember Gohan, and when Cell stepped on 16, dude, that was it. I knew when he did that it was over.
And the dove just,
oh my God,
just a dove. A dove and a red line is all you need to know that shit's about to go down.
It was, but I remember that.
Akira wanted to stop after Cell Saga.
I remember reading that. Yeah.
So he said that Cell was a character that he hated to draw because it was so difficult with all of the little black dots all over his outfit that it was just a bear for him to draw. And he kind of was like, wanted to end it off with Gohan becoming the figure.
Goku.
Yeah.
Becoming the main guy. Yeah.
Eclipsing over Goku for a lot of spiritual reasons. Obviously, his son surpassing father and all these moments. And they're like, no, this is too much success. Let's keep going. So, you know, we end up getting what we got, which is still fantastic. I mean, the Buu saga was
incredible. It was incredible. But I remember, speaking of the Buu saga, for me, Super Saiyan 3 Goku.
Nutty. It was crazy.
But the power up, though.
Oh, it was crazy.
How long he screamed, going to Kami Tower to see, or, you know, going to the tower to see Piccolo, and he's like, oh, God. And then I just remember, like, don't use up all of your life energy, because at this point he's got the halo over his head. He's back.
If he dies, he dies. I mean, I'm not spoiling that, but when you have
it was, I remember that being just such a cool thing. And I remember when it was 2018. I have no shame. There's a video out there somewhere. It's not on my personal Facebook. You guys can all go look. Somebody has it. Dragon Ball Z was doing like a Budokai game or whatever they were doing, which, you know, this IP has so many things that have stemmed from it. Video games, movies, different series, whatever. New York Comic Con, they had a tube, and it was all based on sound. And if you went up to a certain thing, the yellow aura came around you first. And then you would actually transform, and it would take a picture of you and put the Super Saiyan hair over you. And dude, I remember I did it twice because I did it once on Thursday and then I wanted to do it once again on Sunday. And dude, I did it so hard on the Sunday, I lost my voice. I just screamed at the top of my lungs like Goku going Super Saiyan 3. All the clouds were sucking in.
I'm going to need that on my shirt at OAX.
And it was just me like this, dude. It was just me full blown. You know,
I want to get Demio's shirt, and I'm going to walk around OAX with you just powered up Super Saiyan 3.
That would do it. But, you know, back to, you talked about Cell and maybe why it was such a bear for, you know, Toriyama to draw. You can see there those little dots and things that we were talking about all throughout Cell's body. And also Cell had, you know, a bunch of forms.
A bunch of transformations.
It was, you know, he had a bunch of transformations. And this is obviously Brandon's pick, and he is very well known in this space. And this is kind of where, you know, I would say Brandon's, the majority of your collection on your higher end stuff lives. You know, I love an anime when let's call it a secondary character steps up and just makes it happen, whether it's the ultimate sacrifice, diverting their attention, holding them off, whatever it is. And one of my, I think, most overlooked things in all of Dragon Ball Z, the whole Z saga, was when Tien fights second form Cell, and he basically tri-beams him for like a half a day and just won't let him out. And he goes until exhaustion. I'll just never forget that moment. It was so powerful. And when I showed you this, you were like, you know, did you know what this is? And I didn't. So explain to me, you know, this image, what I chose, and explain, you know, kind of the significance of what this is.
You know, Matt had showed this to me earlier. I'm like, oh shit, that's really cool. You chose a harmony cell, and he didn't realize that was a harmony cell, or B, what a harmony cell is. So
we're learning. We
are. This is what we're here for. Harmony cell is a fully painted cell by hand. And I know that you're going to say, well, Brandon, aren't cells already painted? Like, yes, they are. But we're talking like watercolors and other color, not just like the acrylics that go into like a cell. And then once that's painted on board, then they use a cell, an actual cell for black lines to put over top of it. This is typically, this image here would be at the end of an episode in Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball. You would see this image and then they'd start talking about next episode. And then they would go to the credits.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, thanks.
Pretty good.
But this would be one, maybe two an episode. I don't think two, but let's say for sure one. And you only have so many episodes. So there's only so many harmony cells. And a harmony cell is the grail. I don't even own harmony cells. Let me just put it that. And I own some really good cells. I don't have a harmony cell. The Majin Vegeta atonement harmony cell, when he's looking off as he's exploding.
I can think of the exact with the like sunset explosion in the background.
So that went on Heritage a few years ago. And it went north of $100,000. So a harmony cell is very, very rare to find. And that was a few years ago, and the market is, certainly hotter now than it was then.
Yeah, and honestly, the reason why I picked this image was because exactly what you said. I just didn't realize what a harmony cell linked to is. I used to love when they would give you like either a cut in half or an iconic image of like what was to come on the next episode. And then he started talking, you'd start to get a little bit of like some previews. And then it would always end with the classic, until next time on Dragon Ball Z. and dude, you couldn't wait to watch again. It was the first show that I can truly remember that I was like wanted to be that. Well, actually, second show I should say. Power Rangers was my first one, but that I wanted to be home at a certain time to watch something, and Dragon Ball Z was one of them.
All right, so you like Super Saiyan 3 Goku. That's the harmony cell of Super Saiyan 3. You can just see it's far different. Yeah. And the GOAT, Majin Vegeta, the greatest character of all time in any anime ever.
He's easily my favorite Dragon Ball Z character, so I'll give you that.
Because he has the most development. That's why he actually has character development, and I just think his character in this arc was, to me, everything. Yep. Everything. I loved everything about it. The artwork was phenomenal. The character was so sinister. It was the first time that we got to see something so sinister. I'm not spoiling anything. It's been out forever.
Yeah, you're good.
He kills an entire stadium of arena of people and smiles about it. Yeah, just because he wants to fight Goku, and it just everything about it was brilliant. I love it. I know that Matt had showed his cell earlier.
Yeah, I want to bring this up. Let me give you I'm going to actually stop sharing here so I want to give you the full screen for a moment here.
Yep, there we go. So that is my Majin Vegeta atonement cell. This is when he is sacrificing himself during that saga against Majin Buu. This is my Grail cell. This is incredible, dude. My biggest piece that I own, the one that I love the most, the one that I keep looking at. It's beautiful, the black in his eyes, and it's so bold. And
well, I was just about to say, what's really amazing is the black around the outside of his eye, but then like the greenish turquoise of his eye. It just made the black around the eyes make the green pop so much more.
Yeah, and then like the shade detail in his chest, between his pecs, into like his gi. It's just a really good cell. It's a great moment. It's a very iconic moment. Like Demio said, Dragon Ball is so much different. It was more about technique, right? There weren't these outlandish power-ups. When you went to Dragon Ball Z, it was just like no holds bar, blood all over the place. You've got Dragon Ball Z uncut episodes. Yeah. When I was young, we'd go to the flea market so I could buy these VHSs and all this, anime related stuff from Japan at the flea markets. And I'd always want to buy the uncut episode. And my mom was like, "No, you can't buy the uncut." I was like, "Mom, it's not that much blood. It's like not that bad."
Mom, you don't even know that I'm putting in the blood sheet for Mortal Kombat. I've been doing that.
Exactly. Fatalities. Yeah, I've been doing the Sega Genesis for years. Relax.
So I don't have nearly as that amazing of a cell as what you have as the atonement moment, but I do have, courtesy of you and a deal we made, this is hands down my prized cell possession of Majin Vegeta. As I said, he's my favorite character from Dragon Ball Z, not only Vegeta. I'll go back to, and if there's any Dragon Ball Z fans watching this, playing all the Budokai games and Tenkaichis, doing all those. I mean, I liked Scouter Vegeta, like original landed on the planet Vegeta. When he would hit you with, in the games with dirty fireworks or the Gallic gun. I like that he
real
came
sinister OG when he didn't care about anything.
So what I loved about the World Tournament arc way later in Dragon Ball Z is Vegeta's really made a turn inside of his character development. But the main thing, and the way it was written by Toriyama, which was so great from the beginning, is that, Saiyans have the ability to continue to get stronger the more they beat the crap out of their body and the more that they fight tough opponents. And Vegeta, being the prince of all Saiyans, didn't want anything else but to be the strongest Saiyan. And he had kind of, in your mind, you had thought, put it behind to be a good number 2 with Goku and defend the Earth. And he starts working with Bibbidi, right? Or no, Bobbidi.
He allows himself to be mind controlled, and his latent power becomes unleashed under that.
But the thing is that the main reason why I loved Majin Vegeta was he wanted to get back to that feral, that psychotic, he felt he had lost his edge. And then when he was under mind control, he eventually just said, nah, this isn't, you're not going to do that to me anymore. Like, I control me. And I just will never forget those moments. I mean, dude.
The writing.
Do you remember when he just beats the brakes off of Pui?
Yeah. Oh,
the little guy in the ship?
Dude.
Oh, my God.
The writing and the speeches that Majin Vegeta had were unbelievably done. They were written so incredibly well. The I am a warrior speech, I've lost who I am speech. Again, it's not relatable in the sense of like, I want to go back to my party days when I was a kid. But just to be able to see that he's a man that's going through these struggles and he's having to fight adversity. Vegeta just has so much more character development. Goku, love Goku, big Dragon Ball guy. He's been gifted everything. All of his techniques were someone else's techniques.
He's been gifted.
Majin Vegeta goes out but Vegeta goes out and he earns everything on his own. Somehow he can do
Dude, and when Majin Vegeta's got Goku pressed into that rock mountain, he was beating the brakes off him for a little bit there.
He was bitch slapping him at one point. I mean, that was finally, as a Vegeta fan, I was like, yes. But then guess what? Oh, Goku has to go Super Saiyan 3.
Yep.
2 or 3 episodes later, I was like, oh my gosh.
But I do have to say, you owning that cell from the Final Atonement, this moment at the World Tournament, it was a turning point in Dragon Ball Z because you didn't know if Vegeta was going to be a villain forever again. It was great writing. And then, I have no problem saying it. I get more emotional watching animes than I do a movie or reading a book or whatever it was. I mean, when he gives the speech to Trunks, it's like, holy crap. Like, this guy is, Vegeta's like an onion. He's just got a lot of layers, like Shrek. He's incredible. So, not only the fact that you own that cell, but this moment. And, I was going to put Dragon Ball Z on the list, but I knew you had it. I knew you had it covered.
I needed that. So this
one, I have to say, I've never watched it, and you were blown away that I haven't. So I'm going to pass the floor over to you.
Well, let me say the reason why I was blown away, because I feel like this is up your alley. You've watched a lot of anime, some more than I. Obviously, your list, there's some stuff on there I haven't watched. But this here, it's such a niche. It's not very long. I can't remember how many episodes it was, like 13 or something. It wasn't.
Yeah, I think it was 14 episodes.
Yeah, 14 episodes. So it's a quick watch. But there is a lot built into what this anime allowed to eventually become created off of it. And everyone, I think, nowadays has watched Stranger Things, right? Stranger Things was a huge impact off of Netflix, and what Eleven, who she was, her character development, it really stemmed off of Lucy, the main character from Elfen Lied. And it's a great watch. It is gory. I will say now, if you guys like gory stuff, this is up your alley.
Well, when I looked it up and I immediately saw the genre was dark fantasy, I was like, I'm already kind of in.
Well, that's why I said, I was like, I don't know how you haven't watched it yet. And there's going to be some people on here that it has a very big cult following, right? Like almost like Vampire, D, like there's a big cult following for these smaller IPs because they're written really well.
Yes.
The animation is really good, and they're in and they're out. They don't drag something out. And I think that's something to be said. If something is good enough to stand on its own, let it do that. And Akira did it really well, obviously.
You said it best earlier. It's the same thing. Not everything needs to have a second or a follow-up or whatever. And if it does, hopefully it's written well or whatever. But when I read your list, when you sent this back to me, we were doing our pre-show stuff. It's like, the art from this also struck me. Yep. And I think that's why, like you said, some of the smaller IP animes, one of the shows that I actually had in here and then I took out was called Claymore. And it's kind of similar to this where, like, if you haven't watched Claymore, you don't know about it. But if you've watched it once, there's like a cult following group that loves it. Wishes there was a second season or a third season, but's completely fine that there wasn't and appreciate it for what it was. And there's always those, like you kind of said, those groups that are like, this is my anime. It didn't get enough shine. You should go watch it. And whenever someone, tells me to go watch an anime, especially that's a collector or someone I trust, and it's like, you really should go watch it. I do, because I always enjoy watching something new, even if it's from 2004 or it's from 1986.
I prefer that nowadays, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, and it's available on Crunchyroll and Prime Video, and it was made by Lin Akamoto. So
I think it's off of Crunchyroll now, but it is on Prime.
Okay, so at least it's still on Prime. And once again, guys, if it's not on Crunchyroll now,
guys, it is worth the watch. If you like,
give it 3 months, it'll be on Crunchyroll.
If you watch like Stranger Things, you're going to really like this. Lucy is a genuine badass.
So when I was going through and I just typed in, Elfen Lied, Lucy, this was the first image I saw. And I was like, okay, once again, leaning towards in. This looks great. I love the look on her face. I love the deep, dark background. You can tell that she's in some type of either like a sewer facility or whatever it is. She's trying to, get out. But the perspective of the gun is incredible. I just thought this was a super strong image, and coming from a guy who's never seen, the show, when you see stills on something like this, you're like, okay, I want to go take a look. And then the next one was just an image I picked, and we were speaking pre-show. I mean, this is directly from the show, and I was able to find so I kind of spoke to Brandon before this too. And part of me is I like images that look like this because that's what it looked like when you watched it.
Yep.
And it still looked great. But this one, I was able to find a very high res still. And this is apparently a very iconic scene from the opening scene, I guess, correct?
Yeah, this is the opening scene after she is let loose from her little encapsulated tube. It's a very powerful moment. And I was telling Matt when we first were talking about it, I said, there's a scene that you're going to find out within the first 5 minutes if you're going to like this or not. And this is that scene.
In what I think about, this is when I see it, it's like, how many movies have had this or a precedent like this or something like this? And we were talking not only about, 11 from Stranger Things, but also Lucy in general, the movie Lucy with Scarlett Johansson. And we were talking about it in, break it down to me. What are Lucy's powers? Is she a technopath? Is she psychic? Like, what are her abilities?
Both, actually. Yeah. And
she can just do it all.
She can do it all. And she can, without having to even waste any power, just break you limb from limb.
Just incredible.
Just with her mind. And with no remorse, because she has no feelings. The same way that 11 was when she first came about. Yeah, I mean, there was already confirmation that 11 inspiration was from Lucy. And it just goes to show that anime plays such a massive cultural impact on so many different levels, whether it's attire, just like, Akira's jacket, his clothing, music like RZA, movies, character development based off of such. So, if you've never watched anime and your thought process is, it's very childish or it's kiddish, I assure you it's not. And there's a lot of very, very intelligent people at a music level, at cinema that focus on anime to be able to pull something out to turn it into a movie or turn it into a song to gain inspiration from.
Yeah, and I mean, you said it best, because I think there might be a little bit of like a stigma that anime is like for kids or whatever it is. But the funny part is now that it was for kids at one point, and now we're all in our 30s or 40s and 32, 40, I should say. And you're seeing like NFL players, actors, obviously, because that's what they watched when they were growing up. And it's what's important to them now. And I think it's made a cultural, kind of pop culture move. And you're seeing a lot more stars, let's call them, that are, saying they're watching anime or doing whatever. And I always say this, if you want to watch a feel good, fun anime, it's out there. You want to watch an anime that is extremely gory, it's out there. You want to watch an anime that's sexual, it's out there. You just got to do your research. There's different levels to everything. And we were just kind of talking about another anime that I had, tipped you off of, and you've actually watched it since then. And it's funny because you were saying that, this anime here with Lucy was very gory. So I said, oh, if you like a gory anime, you should check out this anime. And it's called Dead Man Wonderland. You watch Dead Man Wonderland and you're like, this isn't gory. Well, Dead Man Wonderland was canceled after one season in like 2006 or something, because it was too gory, but it was for that time. Yeah. Now it's like, nothing or whatever it was, or I don't know why that was the main reason it said it was canceled, but
it was a good storyline. I actually did watch it. Matt gave me a recommendation. I watched it in one day, and I was like, damn, I want more. Why did it stop?
And that's what I think is really cool about this thing is, the thing that we love that's called anime is because it's based off a manga a lot of the times. And a lot of the times, try to explain, Brandon, the dynamic between a manga and then the anime being produced and why sometimes filler is needed because of the gap of the actual creation of the anime versus what's already happened in the manga.
You know what, Matt? I don't know. This is me just speaking. I almost feel like as a creator of manga, you would more than likely want to stay true to your manga, right? And when you sell rights and money's involved and anime studios say, hey, we want to be able to produce this, but we need to drag it out because we need more content to produce off of it. Otherwise, it'd be quick. I think there's a monetary aspect that comes into it for the filler. So it's not needed all the time, right? And it's not like Akira said, hey, let's put this filler episode in. The creators really only have say when it comes to character design, making sure that the anime stays somewhat true to the manga. So Akira wasn't sitting over top of them after every episode and looking at the storyboard and saying yes or no. Like he said, hey, look, I wrote the books. This is my money. I will be here for the color schemes, right? Like going back to Vegeta. Hey, listen, you guys completely F this up. It's supposed to be this color scheme. Change it. So that gets changed. So he does have obviously some say. But then you got someone like Elfen Lied, right? Like, and I don't know if that was a manga or not. And maybe they say to themselves, I don't want to do filler. Like I want to be just true to this and this is it only. I'd be interested in knowing how a creator feels. And I think it's a good question to maybe look.
Yeah, because it was a genuine question. And, hearing your feedback makes a lot of sense because one of the things that I've always thought too is that before pre-digital, let's go pre-digital, how many years does it take to make a Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust or an Akira or whatever it is? So now you're doing Dragon Ball Z, let's just say, and you have these immense amount of episodes. Well, Akira's still writing the anime or the manga while it's going. The anime is being made, so they had to, essentially catch up. There's sometimes that things are being made while it's being written. So they could be kind of in line. And then if the writer kind of takes a break or they fall behind their deadline, I think sometimes filler gets injected there or a sub storyline or whatever it may be. But I have to be really honest, and I'm going to be one of the people. I don't mind the filler stuff.
I don't mind either.
I got it. I just wanted to say it. I didn't know how you were going to feel.
So listen, One Piece.
Listen, I love the battle. I love the action. It's all cool. But I love the story. It's just like a comic book. Sometimes I love reading the story. I don't need a battle page every 4 pages. I like the story of what I'm reading.
One Piece is the filler.
Dude, I can honestly say I've never watched it. I've never watched one episode, dude.
So One Piece has a lot of
too much.
But One Piece is probably the best written anime of all time.
Ooh, okay.
And I'm going to say this because of a big fact is that every character gets so much development in time. And every character contributes not only from a story level, but also from impact on helping, right? Like a power level or doing this, that, and the other. It's not like Dragon Ball Z where Goku and Vegeta are the most powerful. And if they can't beat it, then nobody can, right? It's not that. Women, kids, men, other type of pirates and creatures, like
dogs, whatever you need,
whatever it is, everyone has some type of story. And like right now, there's a thing going on. It's current, the anime. The manga obviously is a couple chapters ahead, but they're like right on its tails right now, right? So Oda's writing, and then the anime is right on top of it. And I'm watching it, and they're going through 4 episodes now of Kuma. And before, you think he's just like villain type of character, and now he's getting a backstory to why he is who he is now and how he's been brainwashed and all these things. And he watched his mother and his father get shot in front of him as a kid. He was a slave. They use him as a slave. He ends up having kids. He's taking the pain from the villagers that are, whether it's their cancer, they've been shot, or they're on these pains. He's able to take the ability of pain away, and then he can transfer that pain to somebody else. So
that's a crazy ability.
But what he's doing is, in the village, he's taking everyone's pain, but he doesn't want to release that to someone else. He's keeping it. So he's in the church, and he's just going through just all of these emotions, getting ripped to shreds. He's bleeding out, and his wife's taking care of him. They have a kid. Finds out his kid's going to die at the age of 10. It's just like you have this whole backstory, and you can't help but think to yourself, like, fuck, dude, this character is awesome, man. And you're like, what? And this whole time, for years, we've been led to believe he's just villain, he's terrible. And meanwhile, he's not even there mentally, and who he was probably the greatest person ever.
I think one of the things that anime and manga does, along with comic books really well, is, or, the great running comic, let's call them, is they lay that groundwork that makes you want to know more, or that makes you want to know more about a character. Because sometimes there's characters that come in on an anime and you're like, I have zero interest in them. And then 3 episodes later, they do something. You're like, I want to know more about that guy. I want to know more about that guy, or whatever it is.
You would love One Piece. You would love One Piece.
But the thing is, the thing is about One Piece, I'm actually sure I would love it. It's the amount of time that I would have to dedicate, because I know me, that if I start something, I'm going to just keep going, and like, I got to get stuff done. So I can't just sit down and watch too much One Piece. But I think, regardless of, I know enough, I've never also watched Bleach, but I've watched the Bleach movies. So I understood, I never watched, Full Metal Alchemist, all the show, but I watched the movies, and, they were incredible. Some of the best writing I've seen in anime, and I don't know if you watched it, we haven't discussed this, but very similar of why they are who they are, did you ever watch Rurouni Kenshin?
Mm-mm.
So Kenshin's another one, he's called Batosai the Manslayer, and it was back in feudal Japan when things were happening, and Meiji era, and he's kind of the right hand of the shogun, and he's out there just decimating people, and everybody thinks he's like a psycho maniac killer sadistic murderer. And then the war ends and they ban swords, and he's just like a normal guy, just kind of walking around, easygoing, like. And then you start to fight, and some other people from that time, see him, and you can see that
it's the light switch,
yeah, and it's like an incredible thing to see. So that's what I really love about this, is there's a lot of similarities to comic books. There's a lot of similarities to the thing we love, because it's one of those things where you love what you're watching or what you're seeing, because it reminds you of why you love to watch this stuff at the base level. And now I will take all the blame here. Shout out to my buddy Mike Pass, who has been on Solo Leveling since the day it came out. He messaged me the first day it came out on Crunchyroll, and he said, dude, you got to watch this. I haven't watched it yet. It was one of your picks. I also know that, I picture you a little bit like at the gym, solo leveling, like getting the bench press reps up. But I got to pass it over to you here for solo leveling. It was created by Chugong. I would say it's
Korean.
more of what would you call the genre?
I want to
sci-fi.
I'd say sci-fi, maybe like I want to say post-apocalyptic, but it's definitely like on the brink of.
Okay. Because I've never watched an episode, but I have to say I've heard nothing but great things about solo leveling. So not one person that I've talked to has been like, "Oh yeah, it's bad."
So it is done incredibly well. The animation is phenomenal. You're on the edge of your seat every episode. I know, Matt, you said earlier you love filler, but guess what? There's not a episode of not a single episode of filler in this whatsoever. It is fast paced from the start to the finish, and it is a damn race. I'll tell you what, it is. It's really good. The title is basically self-explanatory. Solo leveling. The main character, Song Jin-woo, is incredible. I don't want to give away too much because
I'll say it's like actually current. So this one we should really try not to. But to be clear, he's the one in the blue.
Yep, correct. Yep. So season 2 just ended, and it was so good, Matt, that I sat there myself. I said, "Oh my god, that was phenomenal. I don't want to wait another 2 years." And I went and read the entire manga.
I love it. I love it.
After reading the manga, I want to say I became one of those guys that says, the manga's better. Like everyone's like,
"Oh, dude, you're one of those guys. Oh, if you don't read the manga, it's all over."
You know what? I became that guy. You know why? And it's not because the writing was better. The artwork was unreal.
That goes without saying. Yes.
Oh my god, the artwork in the manga for this was unbelievable.
And from my understanding, this is all digital now, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
So this is not Japanese, by the way. It was a Korean writer that wrote the manga. Okay. Just to give Korea a little respect here because they came out with an absolute banger. Because Beirut versus Jinwoo here is one of the top fights you'll ever watch.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't know anything about Beirut, but I love a giant powered up like centipede ant monster. And I love it.
And he is a badass. I don't want to spoil anything. It is so good. It is incredible. There's a moment in this fight scene you're just like, holy shit. Just like, did that just happen? Like, and I don't want to say the scene because you're just like, that just happened. Like, there's a moment of fear that is displayed by one of the characters that comes off the screen. You're like, it's just really good.
Yeah, and I think, while the animation can be great, the storytelling can be great. Every anime has its own highlights, right? One of the animes that I personally love, and I'll go back to the original. I like the new ones because it's nostalgic value. Was like Baki the Grappler.
Great.
And I liked Baki the Grappler, the original joint. Now I like the new Baki that came out.
Netflix
then they had Baki
good,
Hanma.
Yeah.
I watch them all because I love Baki. But the thing about Baki is, you're not there for the story.
No, God, no. Listen, you're fighting Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali.
You're there for one reason.
A dinosaur.
And it is for battles.
It is
awesome. For battles. And sometimes you just want to watch a shoot 'em up movie or a rom-com or whatever.
Yep.
It's the same thing with anime. Like if I just want to watch like two guys with 18 abs going at it, I go to Baki. You know what I mean? If I just want to watch two guys brawl it out, I know that that's what I'm going to get there. Of course, the techniques and how they do things and how they break it down, that part's amazing. The animation of it's great. But they aren't all these amazing story arcs. And I feel like, not to take anything away from Solo Leveling, but I feel like I'm just going to want to watch Solo Leveling for the next fight. And it seems like they're just coming rapid fire, so I'll be fine with that.
Solo Leveling is the Expendables franchise or Fast and Furious franchise. You're not going to go watch it to see family. You're like, I want to see a car go 180 miles per hour on the back of a rocket into the fucking moon, right?
And throw it off of a building in Dubai, and it's going to be fine.
That's what I want to see. And that's what you get out of this. And it has you on the edge of your seat because the animation is so good.
So I will say I don't love when everything becomes digital, but I do also have to say, because I almost put Demon Slayer on the list.
Yeah, it's the same thing, and I
because
agree with
there are a couple moments in Demon Slayer where even my wife, we're watching it, it's on, and she's like, that looked amazing. Like, it's just a different, because when you do digital, it does allow you to do a lot more when you can really just do it that way.
And you have the full house of chips to play with, digital can be phenomenal. Yeah. If you use it as a shortcut, it looks like shit.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Now, I just put this up here again. I don't know anything about this, but what I can tell you is what we were just talking about is I think this is a poster. This is a billboard. This is something that you show that I'm like, I want to go watch this show. It's just, I think the art here is incredible. I love the color scheme.
I can't spoil it.
I love it.
Will say the purple aura, the black. I love it. It's my soul.
Purple and black. I mean, it's. I just thought when I was doing some research on solo leveling, and I was trying to avoid spoilers, or whatever. So I was just going through a lot of images, and this was an image that I kept seeing, and I was like, every time I saw it, I was like, I should choose this one. And by the third time, I was like, this is it. I just love it. I think it's very, very cool. I love even all the negative space in the armor down by the left with just the whites going through the blacks in the middle, the purple aura around it. Then you have the all black face with the purple mohawk or mane hair, and then, just the two white eyes. And I love that you don't see his face. You don't.
This is very similar to the manga, by the way. So like what you see here, these are the panels in the manga. It's really, really good.
Dope.
Yeah.
Now, before we go to the last two, we got two more animes left to go over. I did want to touch on, Brandon, you and I have talked about this before, and obviously there's a lot of places to buy a lot of things. I always have a famous line in my previous life. I'll take it into my post life when I die. You can buy a Ferrari on eBay, or you can buy it from the dealership. You can buy anything anywhere now. You can buy gas station sushi. So, keep it all in mind. When I say reputable locations to buy animation art, I wanted to put some on there, some places that weren't just heritage. Obviously, I wanted to include them because they have a weekly auction now. You can see those things. But there's some other places that not just me that you've also bought from. I bought from a couple, people on a couple of names on this list. And some of them are buy it now. Some of them are auction houses, but these are all places where you can go and look. And I would say, if you're ready to buy, great. Go take a look at it. Mandarake is having they always have big auctions, a lot of things. They have like a premiere auction, then they have a weekly auction. But there's also just a great reason to go and look and see what's out there, see what's coming to markets. You might see something from a show that you didn't even know original art was available for it, or that you didn't even realize that you remembered watching that show. That happened to me the other day. I saw something on Mandarake and I was like, oh, I remember that show. That was cool. So why don't you talk to us about, because I know you've bought from almost all of these locations, and you're comfortable with them, and so have I, but you've done more of the buying on this aspect than I have.
Yeah, Mandarake is a really, really good auction house. You can use PayPal when you purchase items through there. It is an auction house, so it is very similar to Heritage. There is a buyer's premium, so be aware of that. Everyone gets their slice of the pie, right? But it also is going to have items that you will never see again, right? Similar to like Heritage, the one-on-one items that you're like, hey, I got to put all my chips in because I'm not going to be able to see this piece ever again, or anything close to it for that matter. And Mandarake does a really good job of having their big Zenbu auctions, which are their premier auctions. I'd say probably quarterly is what it looks like. And their quarterly auctions are just spectacular. Anywhere from animation arts, production used materials like Sedai and storyboards.
Shikishis with original commissions on them.
Yep. Now, there's more, toys, like original, PVC Japanese toys and cards, and you could buy Pokemon cards off of here, and trophy cards, and like Pokemon Pikachu Illustrator cards. There's been a lot that's been sold off of Mandarake over the years. If you ever want to feel bad about yourself, type in something that you really want, and then look at the history back from like 2013, so you can cry in the closet with me, because I've done that many a times.
We've all done it.
And I try to say, where the hell is this piece at now? Who has this? Where can I find it? And that's really why I do that. But anyways, it's a great resource, and I think that everyone should start looking more there if you're interested in this space. It's no trade secret, right? Like, yeah. I'm not holding any cards here to my heart. Like, this is a platform that you should look at. One of the reasons why people do love buying from Mandarake or Heritage, for instance, is that there is a sense of security knowing that you're buying something legit. Right.
Well, since we've done our episode and, I've showed more of my cells and things like that, I've had people like, how do you know it's real? And, first off, I always say this on every episode, and I'll continue, is you always got to do your research. You always got to understand what you're buying, where you're buying it from, what are the things to look for. Do they have the proper hole punches at the top? Is it a circle in the middle? Is it two ovals on the sides? Is it stuck? Is it unstuck? All of those type of things can, factor in. But I would always say, do your research. And then I know that also, transitions over to like a Yahoo Japan or an ABO art auction. You're buying with a sense of security from these places on this list. They're doing the vetting for you. They're saying, and I would also say like Anime Bunka. I went on their shop, dude. Got some great Dragon Ball cells.
Dude, he's awesome. So let me show you something real quick. I bought.
Hold on, I'm gonna stop sharing so I can. I'm gonna give you full screen there. There we go.
So I bought this cell off of Mandarake. Okay, it's very, very rare to ever find a Super Saiyan 2 Gohan during the father-son Kamehameha. It's a grail piece. So when this became available, I knew instantly that I had to buy it, right? Now, the reason why I show that is because Mandarake, on all of their items that they sell, I do believe, maybe even the smaller items too, you get an envelope that is from them. And then inside this envelope, you get a letter of authenticity that shows the scan of your cell and them certifying that this is a real and genuine item. Now, I wish I paid 60,000 yen for this.
I was about to say that looked like it was missing about two little zeros.
Maybe a couple more. But yes, this is what a lot of people love to have, right? Yeah. And Mandarake does that. And I think they go the extra mile to do such a thing.
Well, to vet the pieces, you know what I mean? That's very important to a lot of collectors. So really taking your time, and guys, we're not, Brandon or I are not pushing it. We're not, like we said, we're not holding any trade secrets here. I'm not pushing you to buy from Heritage or saying you got to buy from Yahoo Japan with a proxy or hit up Mandarake or whatever. Just check these places out and see what they have available, and then make your own decision from there.
Do your own research. Just look at past auctions, look at the values of where things once were, where they're at now, and just enjoy yourself. If you like Hunter x Hunter, type in Hunter x Hunter on Heritage or Hunter x Hunter on Mandarake and see what comes up and what's sold. Yep. It gives you an idea what's out there, gives you an idea on the values. There is no trade secrets. I'm not hiding a place where I purchase from or Matt purchases from. Like, there's none of that. Like, this space.
We were born 20 years too late to have those
yeah, connections. No shit. But like this space here is great. It's a great space. Everyone helps one another out and everyone's looking out for another. It's not like cards or something like that where I'm trying to get over on you and oversell you something. So Mandarake is fantastic. I just showed you an example of a big purchase with the certificate of authenticity and the scan of the piece. Yahoo Japan is eBay, right? Now, with that being said, eBay has a lot of fakes. Yahoo Japan has a lot of fakes. You have to do your research when you're buying from there. You can't just buy off of Yahoo Japan if you don't live in Japan. You have to have a proxy. So you can use a proxy service, like a middleman service, type in proxy Yahoo Japan. There'll be some options for you to be able to use. Now, I will say, living in the United States, it has become a little bit more difficult because of the tariffs.
Of course,
I got hit with
that are going on. Yeah,
it's made, and plus, the word is out on Yahoo Japan, so a lot of people use it now. So things aren't as advantageous to purchase at prices that are selling for. They're selling for if they were on Heritage or Mandarake. And then on top of that, you have to add the Teros coming in too. So be aware of those things when you use a proxy. The proxy has a fee. A lot of times the proxies won't let you purchase or bid on an item unless you preload money up. So if you want to buy something for $5,000 USD and it's in an auction, you have to load $5,000 USD into the proxy. And then once you have that in your wallet, then you can use it to bid.
Yeah. And again, if you're not comfortable with that, then don't do it. Yeah. But go and take a look, see what's out there, gauge what's happening in the IPs that you're enjoying, just like you would do for any other narrative art that you collect. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing, is that I think a lot of collectors didn't realize that this space, or at least comic book collectors, are on the CAF Plus channel, or it wasn't their forte. But I think there's a lot more people out there now that are starting to collect this type of art. And I just wanted to list a couple of reputable places to buy. If you want to buy, I don't get any cut from any of this. I'm just telling you the places that I look. I just want a light to be shined on this, and, people to understand, because I'm having so much fun in my own right, looking at these pieces and finding things and where they are, and learning more that, if anime or animation art is not for you, that's okay. It's no problem. But if you want some places to take a look at, some reputable places to buy after you've done your own research, take a look at these, see what's out there, and then make your own decisions from there. It's not anything, like we said, there's no trade secret, there's no secret sauce. It's doing the work, doing the research, and seeing what's out there. So check these out, take a look over. And the last two anime that we're going to touch on was one that I was going to put on my list, and then Brandon put it on his list. So one that we can definitely talk about together. Attack on Titan. Came out in 2013. You can watch it on Hulu, Crunchyroll. It was on Netflix at one point. I'm sure it'll be back. Attack on Titan is, for me, an absolutely incredible anime. These three here take you on a journey. These are the three main characters, Armin, Eren, and Mikasa. There's many more amazing sub-characters that come along. Now, Attack on Titan's long, has a lot of episodes, but I have no problem telling you that you should watch all of them.
No flaws.
The storytelling through Attack on Titan is the second best thing for me. The first best thing I'll say, and then I'll pass it over to you, Brandon, and you kind of give me your background and your thoughts on Attack on Titan, is Attack on Titan was an anime, or is an anime, that conveyed being scared and having fear better than any anime I've ever watched. The way that it was animated and the way that it was written, when you see what these characters have to go through and what they see, and then how they have to come back from it, or how they have to maneuver through it. Again, Attack on Titan's been out for a long time. We're not spoiling anything, but you have to imagine, a Titan picking up your friend and eating him right in front of you. And like, you're just supposed to go on with your day. And a lot of times in movies, anime, comic books, people just like, oh, he's dead, and they move right on. The paralyzing fear that the Titans put on the Scout Regiment in Attack on Titan is I think it's the best thing. It was the top note for me about that show. I said, I felt scared watching the anime for these people. So I thought that was something that will always resonate with me with Attack on Titan.
Yeah, but why did you feel that fear? It's because it was drawn so well.
Yep.
Right? The expressions, and I don't want to show too much off, but just to kind of give you an idea. Let me bring it up here. Give you an idea of how much time and effort Wit Studios went into production of this anime.
Yeah, look at the facial expressions that they used.
And this is an original set-eye that was used by the staff.
Now, explain set-eye real quick, just in case nobody watched the first episode.
Yep. So set-eyes are settings that the animation staff would get from the head animator that would go over what to do, how to do it. These notes here are talking about how the animator should be drawing these characters. And
if you go back the one I love is showing the X and the O versus striking the nape of the neck.
Yep.
And like the blood splatter on the X or the O. I mean, yeah.
The detail that Wit Studio, for the first 3 seasons, it was produced by Wit Studio. And then they started to say, oh, well, you're not moving fast enough. Money talks, right? Yeah. We need to get production out. So you guys need to get going a lot quicker. Wit Studio, the first 3 seasons were drawn phenomenally. And it's because they spent so much time and so much detail. And you'll see here, one of the big things that Wit Studio did is with the eyes. And Attack on Titan's eyes, like all the characters' eyes, had so much depth to it. It's because they wanted to do double lines on all the characters' eyes. Every character had double lines. And it says it all in the notes here. Stop doing single lines, double lines, and then fill in the space between to give more depth.
And especially like Annie's eyes or Aaron's. I mean, their eyes on their own thing are incredible, like on their own piece of artwork. And you're right. The reason why I think the fear was conveyed so well was because of the expressions. And especially in the earlier seasons, when they hadn't ventured outside the walls too much and then they go out for the first time. I mean, just there's a lot of, very iconic moments in Attack on Titan.
A lot of levels, a lot of depth.
There's maybe 6 or 7 oh shit moments in Attack on Titan that you don't think another one's going to come. And then you're like, oh my God. And once again, it's another one of those animes that was so well written and had so many twists and turns. But again, I will say my only knock on Attack on Titan is that if you're going to watch it and not pay attention, you won't get it. You need to pay attention to Attack on Titan because it's very detail driven.
The final episode is the best final episode of any anime ever.
And we'll get there. Now, back to the artwork portion of it. I have to be very clear. These are my picks. Now, I don't know who I thought the Warhammer Titan was criminally underused. I loved the design. I thought the Warhammer was awesome. And then I think the best Titan in the whole show is the Armored Titan. Yeah. The Armored Titan is just, the design is incredible. It looks like it's bone armor, but then like flesh under. The sound he makes, the way the steam comes off of him out of the crevices that aren't the bones. I just thought, they were two very different because the Warhammer is very soft looking and very, let's call it more feminine. And then you have the Armored Titan, which is just like exactly what it is. And you have to imagine that this thing's the size of a, 25-foot wall, 30-foot wall. And it's sprinting at you and the earth is shaking. And you're on a horse with some paring blades and a little ODM gear, hoping for the best.
Chad, I want to say, if you haven't watched Attack on Titan and you're saying to yourself, this looks stupid. What are Titans? What are they doing? I was in your same shoes. And I thought to myself, why the hell would I want to watch this? Give the first episode a watch, and then you'll understand the dynamic is far different than maybe what you have going in your head. It is written so beautifully.
It really is.
There's politics. There's military. There's love story. There's so many elements to Attack.
There's like economic infrastructure. I mean, there's the haves and the have-nots. There's a caste system. I mean, it really is a triumph. It covers a lot of things. Like I said, it's long, but it's a very, very good anime. And then it also has probably one of the most badass characters in the last 10 years for me for anime is Captain Levi. If you watch Attack on Titan, it's very likely that in your top 3 characters is Levi. If not your favorite character. He's a lot of people's favorite character over Eren, who's the main character. But probably one of the best fights in the show, in my opinion. Brandan's was much more of a moment and a conclusion. This was just a fight. But, Levi versus the Beast Titan. When the Beast Titan is crushing the rocks.
Yeah.
Dude, and then I don't even want to get into it, but I'm actually getting goosebumps. Captain Arvin's speech.
Yep.
About them taking that ride.
And
they all go. Dude, I could tell you right now, you could play Arvin's speech to me
And you would
before a
run through the
football
wall.
game, and I'd run through the wall.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it literally, it was one of those moments where I was like, I literally said out loud, I was like, something's insane's about to happen.
That Beast Titan, the way he was just flicking, and then the graphic detail, but also understanding that this isn't for them. This is for their wives, their kids, their hopes and dreams for a future. Like everything about it's so
It's
good.
for everything behind them inside of those 3 walls. If we don't stop this, everybody's dead.
Yep.
And it's only a matter of time.
And it comes off the screen. Like, that's the thing, is like, you're not just watching this, you're like, oh, it's cool, whatever. No, it's coming off the screen to you. You can't help but just think to yourself, fucking do it, get after, it's just so good.
And obviously the AOT guys that are going to watch this or have seen it, we're not saying anything you don't know, but I definitely remember, and the reason why this moment was very important to me about putting it on was because with the ODM gear, I thought it was amazing how they used them, how they moved. I thought it was a very unique movement system inside of the show. I loved how it ran off of an actual like gas tank, or, CO2 tank. It wasn't infinite. It gave a very real situation, a real type of feel to the battlefield. But I always watched the show and I thought, damn, Mikasa's just better than everybody on the ODM gear. She can just move. She's awesome. Great. She's awesome. But for a lot of the show, Levi's injured, so you don't get to see him too much. And then when you get to see him move the first time on the ODM gear, it's like, okay, this guy is a one-man wrecking crew. This is what he's born to do. I mean,
the Ackermans, man.
And from a small time, he was a small baby child. He was just a bandit. But Levi was incredible. And then I know you wanted to talk about this because it goes to the ending. But the rumbling in the final chapter, I mean, let's not even get into all the side characters that we all love. Bertold, Hanji, Annie, they all have their own, Jesus, I even just forgot. Another Titan that I feel like's overlooked that I love is the Cart Titan. Yeah. The Cart Titan was awesome. Yeah, each one had their own individual use, thing that it was used so well, and then it all encompasses to the rumbling. And the last 2 episodes of Attack on Titan were incredible.
Do you think? What's better than that? And not only that, but they held us by the tail for so long until it gave it to us, and we all just sat back thinking to ourselves, holy shit, this is a masterpiece. The last episode made every previous episode tie into that one episode, and you think to yourself, this is the most beautifully written thing I've ever watched in my life.
Once again, getting emotional, like when they're all going to the tree.
Oh my God, dude.
Oh my God. I mean, it's like incredible.
Yeah, just understanding what happened in the way that Eren had to live his life the way that he did. I'm not spoiling anything if you haven't watched it. I do want to say, though, Eren did nothing wrong.
Yeah. Oh, you're a Jaegerist?
Eren did nothing wrong.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, though. It's Attack on Titan, I will also say, was thought-provoking. We said it was all the things. It was thought-provoking because when you start thinking and you start knowing about the other island and how the Titans were made and Eren's dad and the basement and how all things come together, it was a masterpiece of writing. It was animated extremely well. And, I did want to, with Attack on Titan, I've never seen any Attack on Titan originals for sale or anything.
I don't think we would. That Sedai that I showed you is in the storyboards that I've come across are the closest we'll ever get. I do have some hand drawn detail in some Sedais. I just don't think you're talking about, most of the stuff is digital, obviously, and Wit Studios was phenomenal. And I don't think they let most stuff ever walk out of
those are inside those 4 walls.
Yeah, exactly.
But Attack on Titan, I will, for the scouts, big scout regiment guy. I'm definitely not a military police fan. I don't want to be inside I would be in the scouts. I'd want to be. I've even said to my wife when we were talking, I couldn't live knowing that I was encaged. Like obviously they had to do that, but inside,
that's all they ever knew, though.
What is it? Wall Rose. Wall Rose is the most interior wall.
Yeah.
And that's where the kings and the knights and the dukes live. I personally couldn't do that because you had the most protection, but then when you find out about the walls, you really didn't really have to much anyway.
There's so many different elements to Attack on Titan. It's unbelievable. You're talking about knights and kings, and then we talk about government and military, and we're talking about the rogue. It's just so good. It is so good. You would do yourself a disservice not to watch
Attack on Titan. I agree. So we were closing it with, let's call it a modern masterpiece. I wanted to finish with another OG masterpiece. Yes, Fist of the North Star was from 86. And yes, the follow-up was from 88, Akira. This is from 97. I would still consider it one of the OGs of anime because of what it also did for the space again. I think, so Berserk... What Berserk did in 97 was unheard of. You didn't even know that you could go down that type of a route with anime and it would be accepted. Berserk created dark fantasy for sure, like definitely very dark.
Last episode, yeah.
Gets a little, the last episode gets a little tough. For some people, but the way and why it's written that way and how it is, it's a wild ride. The story, I keep saying incredible, but that's what it was. I mean, it was an incredible story. You can watch it on Crunchyroll. You can watch it on Peacock. You can watch the original anime from 97, or you can there's a 3-part movie series that came out later, and you can watch those 3.
But make sure, I want to put an emphasis on it because I made the mistake that someone probably will do, which is go to Netflix or go to Crunchyroll and watch what's there. Don't do that.
Right.
You have to watch the 1997 first and foremost.
Agreed.
Watch the 97 first and foremost. You can go to YouTube and they have the 9 hours or whatever it is all together in one continuous stream, unedited, unfiltered. Watch that.
Dude, I just did that the other day with Guyver, the bio-boosted armor. It's another anime from like the late 80s, early 90s that probably you've never heard of. I used to love it, and I found a version on YouTube. It was like 7 hours and 38 minutes long, and it was just every episode ran together. I watched the whole thing.
You just have to remember where you stop at when you go back again, like hour 2, minute 36.
But when you said, I agree. I've never tell anybody watch the Star Wars in this, whatever. I think you would do yourself a disservice, and that's why I put Berserk 97.
100%.
The movies are great. They're good. They're just, you should watch this to really understand. And the movies are a little bit better animated. They came out later, yes, but
the movies. I'm going to stop you before you get roasted by all the purists of Berserk. The movies went to like a CGI format before CGI was really perfected.
Correct.
So it's not very good from that aspect.
But people are gonna say it looks better. You're gonna think it looks better, but you're
97
computer generated.
97 artwork, Berserk is unbelievable.
That's why I chose these images rather than the movie images.
Yeah, but Matt, you got to remember, we got a bunch of guys on here that love artwork, right? So they're going to have to at least love 97 Berserk art.
And, I think the Berserk piece was the cream of the crop at the last Heritage Premium auction, and it was the preliminary for it, and it went for huge money. But if you haven't watched Berserk, this is Guts, this is Griffith, the Band of the Hawk, the whole team. I mean, it is, it's just a really, really great story.
You got a love story between romance, but you got a love story between brothers, best friends. There's a lot of layers to this. And I do want to say, because I'm that guy, Griffith did nothing wrong.
You're a big nobody did anything wrong, huh?
At least the bad guys.
I said it earlier. I think you have to have, and this is a long time thing. If I watched a documentary once. It was on DC Detective Comics, and it was about what came first, the villain or the hero. And it was about the villains, and like, is Batman as good of a villain or a hero if he doesn't have the Joker? And, does Batman even become Batman if there's no villain? Or does he just continue to be Bruce Wayne and enjoy himself? And then Batman's Rogues Gallery, they talk about it. And I think in an instance like this, I don't know if Griffith is bad. I think Griffith he starts off in the right direction, and he has a very clear goal of where he wants to go and how he wants to get there. I think the problem is he was willing to give up everything to get there. And that might have cost him. But these two images, these are from 97. This is what it looked like in 97, done, stunning. Now, I also chose 97 images for these two. The Crimson Bailet, I feel like, is an underutilized or overlooked portion of Berserk. You've probably seen this if you've never seen Berserk on somebody's neck or on a keychain or something and you didn't know what it was. I felt like when you watched Berserk, the Crimson Bailet had a mind of its own. It was its own entity. And if you are gonna stop Nosferatu Zod in your tracks, it's got to mean something. And then the other moment I went with was it's very early on, and I felt like it set the tone for what was to come. Once again, maybe a little bit of an overlooked thing. It's Pipsqueak Guts before he's jacked, before he's Big Guts, and he fights Pazuzu. And, as you can see, you've got a young, huge sword-wielding kid versus a fully armored knight leader of the brigade that they're trying to take over. More like I would say Berserk is like medieval times setting type of a deal. Yep. And Guts takes down Pazuzu, and how he does it, the way it's animated, his battle IQ to notice what's going on to win. You're like, this guy's a force to be reckoned with, and he's going to be an amazing main character. And then a couple episodes later, he fights Griffith and gets the absolute crap kicked out of him. But it's just such a good fight to set the stage of what's to come in Berserk. There's so many good things in the show, so many good things to talk about. I feel like this one maybe gets skipped over a little bit. So I wanted to include that in there because I just felt like this is when Guts was really getting his chops. It was when he was really becoming, one of the leaders of the Band of the Hawk, or prior to that, when he didn't have any of that respect. It was really cool. That fight always stuck with me.
I mean, I think neither one of them exists without each other.
It's so funny. Obviously purposefully done, but I love it that, Guts is big, strong, brooding, black and white. Forward is the only way. And fights with a sword that way. His broadsword is huge. People think through the whole show he can't even swing it. And then Griffith fights extremely elegant. He's more of a fencing style. He's got a rapier style sword. He is slick. He can move. He can do, and Guts just comes in with the sword like, a baseball bat.
Bull in a china shop.
Yeah, their dynamic was also a part of their relationship. And I think Griffith noticed that early, that Guts was going to be the yin to his yang. And, the Band of the Hawk became something truly special. And as Berserk went on or goes on, you're like, holy crap, this is.
Do you think that there was ever an anime that showed the dynamic of a friendship the way that Berserk did between those two?
No.
I don't think there ever has been. Not to that level.
No, and the thing is that like there is some sexual things that happen to some others. I mean, it really is all the things that happen throughout good friendships, throughout bad friendships, throughout friendships that don't last. And then we all have that one friend that no matter what they do or how many times they screw up, you're always going to go back for them. And
it's written really, really
it's
well.
just written really well. And I got to tell you, and anybody that's watched it, again, we're not spoiling anything. The last episode's absolutely crazy. It's wild, but it has its place and it's well written. So
now, but in the art, dude, the reds, the blacks, like all of that was just, I mean,
And I was going to I went with kind of a different style of artwork here. I went with something. This gave me an artist. His name is Jay Lee. This gave me very Jay Lee vibes. So this is why I picked it. But my favorite fight, it's not the Black Swordsman arriving. It's not. I just remember Guts going into the cave, battling Zod. Griffith shows up. Casca's like, they're still in there. Griffith's like, well, we're just going in. I'm just going. I got to get Guts. He's my best friend. And you see Zod, who's been injured for the first time in hundreds of years by someone. And then another guy shows up and Zod's like, ooh, this is going to be fun. Now there's two of you. Maybe I can I can stretch my muscles a little bit. And the way that fight's animated, how they're using the pillars because they're kind of inside of a cave. Zod's voice, the way Griffith and Guts fight together with their own individual style. And the fact that I love about this is that there was no real winner or loser of the fight. It just ended because he saw the Crimson Bayonet. And once he saw that, he knew where it was going.
I think the respect that was earned off of that fight spoke volumes from Zod towards obviously Guts.
Yeah.
And then it was respect to Guts and fear to Griffith.
You're exactly right, because, even when he's fighting Guts, he's like, ooh, you move fast, or you're strong, or you can swing that sword, or this or that. And obviously Zod is, just an insane being. But then when you get into the last episode and, she's all strung up and you've got all the different versions. I forget their names, but what Zod is, they have a specific category of what they're called. And they're all in that universe. And Griffith's there in his new crazy armor. It's like, it's just a wild scene. But that's what I love about Berserk was it went really wild. But it was done so well. And it was done with a purpose. Sometimes, like I said, I've watched a couple animes or I've watched a couple things and I'm like, this part was kind of just there, I think, to either be cool or it didn't impact the story. Berserk, every episode impacts the story. It's just everything that happens. I mean, the way you want to say Griffin did nothing wrong. The fact that he goes down into the bottom floor of the dungeon and what's done to him there, the fact that he even has the will to live is incredible.
Dude, and everything he did was for his camp, right? Everything
it was
he
all
did
for the Hawk.
For the Hawks. Every step of the way was calculated, whether it was with the king that you saw him in, that
the daughter.
That Guts looked at him and was like, whoa, there was a lot of things that were done, but he knew he had to do that to continue to progress the movement in his group. And then, life hits you and something turns you. And, but that was always his destiny. That was always going to be his destiny. And then, that was such a powerful scene. I get goosebumps thinking about it because I just thought it was such a beautiful scene. And it kind of just gave you a point of view that you didn't really think of until this moment. It was when it was him as a kid. And he had it, and he was walking up towards the castle, and it's just like this was always going to be it.
Yeah,
there was no changing this destiny, this path. This path was set before him long before Guts ever came around.
I mean, what does somebody ask him? I'm not sure if it's Zod or somebody else. Like, where did you get that? And he was like, I bought it from a witch doctor at a thing when I was a kid. I just saw it and I had to have it. And they're like, it was meant for you.
Yeah, of course.
They just keep going. I mean, it's the little things like that. And then when you understand what the Crimson Bayonet is and what's important about it, Berserk would have been a miss for us not to put Berserk.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and not to mention the animation art side of things. It's extremely expensive. It's sought after. It continues to set records, similar to how Studio Ghibli does.
Yep.
So those two from a production material side are the front runners, and they bring a big premium, and it's for a reason.
Yep. We've covered, let's see, Fist of the North Star, Akira, Berserk, Yu Hakusho, Vampire Hunter D, Afro Samurai, Dragon Ball Z, Elfen Lied, Solo Leveling, I mean, we did a pretty good job at giving people some
solid
animes to go and watch.
I think we did a good job.
I would have put Claymore on there, which is from '07. It's an older school anime, one of the ones I loved. I wish I wanted more. It's got that cult following. And then the other one was Demon Slayer. Obviously Naruto, but man, you gotta dial in and you gotta be ready.
I would have done
but Demon Slayer was incredible.
I would have done One Piece, but we'd be here for a year.
See, so I don't feel so bad for not putting Naruto and you didn't put One Piece.
Exactly.
If you don't know about them by now and you haven't watched them, you're probably not gonna, unless you hear from me, which I will say you should watch Naruto at least up until the end of the Chunin exams. Up until the Chunin exams, I would tell you probably one of the best anime fights in the history of anime is Rock Lee versus Gaara. It's one of my favorites. I could watch it all the time, and I'm sure you have your fight from One Piece or 3 that you could just throw on a YouTube, type in, and you'd want to watch it and you'd be happy. And, you know, that was kind of the goal of this show, was just to tell some people, hey, go out and watch something that maybe you wouldn't normally watch, or do some research on something and you might find something you love, because that's kind of how I stumbled onto this whole hobby and these whole things that, you know, I do now with, you know, original art or watching anime. When I say hobby, I mean what I do personally, which is watching anime and collecting art. I stumbled on it just by looking. I wasn't, you know, actively saying I was going to go do this. I just kind of fell into it. I was looking around and I got very involved, and it's something that, you know, Naruto taught me about life. You know, Jiraiya told me, go watch Avatar: The Last Airbender. Uncle Iroh drinking tea, he'll tell you about life. He'll tell you how to get through things. There's a lot of really cool life lessons in anime as well. It's not just all punching and kicking and fighting, and you get to see some great original art. There's great storytelling, and it's all the stuff that we love about comic books. So I think it was fun to bring these up, because I'd also love somebody on another show, or maybe I'll do it. What's your top 10 favorite comic book stories to read? And just have some people go out and read some things if they've never read those stories. You know what I mean? You could go back and find something that was just absolutely mind-blowing to somebody that read it 15 years ago and you haven't read it yet. You're going to feel likely the same, or you're still going to enjoy it. And if you don't, you read something new and you can go try something else.
I'd always recommend giving it at least 5 episodes. If you're getting into the anime,
you're better than me. I give 3.
I give about 5. If it's a bigger anime,
okay,
right?
You got to get going.
Yeah, because you got to get going. If it's a bigger anime like One Piece or Naruto, but like if you're looking at these action-packed ones like Soul Leveling that we talked about, or Demon Slayer, you're going to be hooked after episode 1.
Demon Slayer episode 1, I was like, I'm watching until the end.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, most of the new stuff is like that for sure. You know, but this was fun, man. I really enjoyed this.
Brandan, you're always you're going to be a staple member on the show here. You're always welcome. You are my anime Sedai, Ganga, Doga, Painted Cell. You're my guy to talk to for this. And again, you know, we met each other by just reaching out and talking, you know, by other people, collectors putting us together, asking questions. You ask me about original art. I ask you about, you know, anime stuff, and we play to each other's strengths. And I'm very appreciative that you were able to, you know, teach me some things. You wanted to come on the show and, you know, share your favorite animes to watch. And I hope some people go out, and hope some new people get some new Instagram followers. I hope people get to go check out some new content and block off some time and watch one of the anime that we talked about. I promise you won't be disappointed.
Enjoy yourself. It's a lot better to watch anime than brain rot on TikTok.
Very well said. All right, guys, thank you very much. We're going to close it. Collector's Cash episode 5. Shout out to Brandan, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, guys.